Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving deep into what is, I think, arguably the single most important stack of research ever compiled for human survival.
Absolutely.
We are tearing through historical records, forensic lab notes, and these really harrowing field reports detailing the world's most terrifying threat.
And we're not doing this to scare you. The goal here is so that you possess the knowledge needed to survive.
Right.
Welcome. Our mission today is explicitly focused on decoding the undead threat. We're distilling the critical knowledge on the Solanum virus, the physiology and behavior of the infected, and really creating a comprehensive blueprint.
An immediate blueprint
Yeah.
for defense for long-term survival.
Exactly. This isn't science fiction anymore. This is the distillation of hard-won research accumulated over centuries, and it's here for every citizen who refuses to become a victim.
And that refusal, fueled by knowledge, is so key, because here is the first most important thing you have to internalize. Ignorance is the undead's strongest ally, and the hard-won knowledge we are about to share is, unequivocally, their deadliest enemy.
Yeah.
You just can't fight a silent, tireless enemy if you don't understand its limits.
And we begin by separating absolute scientifically documented fact from, all the folklore that permeates popular culture.
All the movies, all the comics.
Right. The living dead are not supernatural, nor are they magical. They are the predictable, lethal outcome of a scientifically verifiable viral infection. It's called Solanum.
A term first coined by Dr. Jan van der Haven, right?
That's right. His early, meticulous documentation of the disease pathology remains the cornerstone of, well, basically all anti-zombie tactical manuals.
Our goal here is pure, pragmatic survival.
Yeah.
It's not about some grand military victory.
No.
And you can't survive what you don't fundamentally understand. So let's jump right in. Section 1. Solanum, the viral origin and the terrifying pathogenesis.
The way a human being transitions from a living person to a shambling horror in less than a day.
Less than a day.
The mechanism of infection is terrifying in its simplicity and its efficiency. Once Solanum breaches the skin barrier and enters the bloodstream.
Usually a bite, I'm guessing.
Typically a bite, yes, but any direct contact with infected fluid through an open wound is enough. It travels immediately and rapidly to the host's brain.
And once it's there.
It targets the cells of the frontal lobe specifically. It uses them as replication factories, and it completely destroys them in the process.
And this rapid destruction of the frontal lobe, which is, the seat of our personality and reasoning, that's why the transformation is so complete, correct?
Absolutely. Once those critical frontal lobe cells are gone, all the complex integrated functions of the human body just cease.
The heart stops. Breathing stops.
Zero electrical or chemical brain activity is recorded. The host is clinically unequivocally dead. But Solanum isn't finished. It operates on a viral timeline that extends beyond the host's life.
And here's where the mechanism of true horror takes over. If the host is dead, what on earth powers the reanimation?
Solanum mutates the remaining non-frontal lobe brain cells into a completely new, unique organ. This new organ is the power source, and it is entirely oxygen independent.
Wow.
That is the crucial, chilling leap. By removing the need for oxygen, the brain no longer requires the complex support system of the lungs, the heart, or the circulatory system to function.
It becomes a self-sufficient engine.
A self-sufficient engine driving the most primitive motor functions. It's a nightmare organism.
A virus that kills its host, co-opts the body as a shell, and then drives it with a self-sufficient oxygen-free engine.
Exactly.
So, the question every survivor asks, how long do I have once I'm bitten?
The complete cycle, from initial infection to full reanimation, is brutally fast and remarkably consistent across all documented cases, approximately 23 hours.
It gives survivors almost no time to act or to intervene.
None at all.
Let's break down that timeline, because recognizing the symptoms, even in a loved one, is crucial for early, decisive intervention.
Which, as you said, often means lethal force to prevent reanimation.
It has to.
We have a very clear progression. At hour 5 post-infection, the initial signs are deceivingly flu-like. You're looking at a fever between 99 and 103 degrees Fahrenheit, chills, vomiting, and acute pain in the joints.
And this stage is often misdiagnosed, right? A severe influenza or something similar.
It is, which allows the victim to move around freely and potentially infect others. That's the danger.
That small window of misdiagnosis is what allows these Class 1 and Class 2 outbreaks to even start.
Precisely. By hour 8, the fever spikes to dangerous levels, 103 to 106 F. Extremities begin to numb, severe dementia sets in, that's the frontal lobe destruction accelerating, and coordination rapidly begins to fail. The person is visibly sick and often increasingly violent.
The body is already beginning to shut down its higher functions.
And it accelerates. By hour 11, we see lower body paralysis, numbness spreads throughout the torso, and the heart rate slows significantly. It becomes thready, inconsistent.
The coma.
At hour 16, the patient enters a deep, irreversible coma. The point of no return has passed. By hour 20, the circulatory system fails completely, the heart stops, and we record zero brain activity on any known sensor.
And then, like clockwork,
Punctually, at hour 23, reanimation.
less than a day. That is a terrifying rate of progression. And we have to stress the lethal nature of this virus.
Solanum is unequivocally 100% communicable and 100% fatal to humans. There is no known case of natural immunity or resistance recorded in any demographic anywhere in the world.
But there's a small piece of good news in there, a huge tactical advantage for us.
A massive one. It is neither waterborne nor airborne.
That means we don't have to worry about the virus aerosolizing through coughs or, contaminating municipal water supplies. It gives us localized control over the spread.
It does. So if it's not floating around, transference is tracked through direct fluidic contact. The most common vector is the bite, where infected saliva and blood enter the host's bloodstream.
But it's not just bites.
No. It can also be transmitted through open wounds, brushing against the necrotic remains of a ghoul, or critically being splattered by infected fluid from a massive wound, say from a high-caliber bullet or a vehicle collision.
Speaking of splatters and fluid, here's that confounding detail that runs against every horror movie trope.
Ah, yes.
Ingesting infected flesh results in permanent death, not infection.
That is correct, and vital knowledge. Infected flesh is highly toxic to the human digestive tract. Ingestion results in severe systemic poisoning and permanent, irreversible death.
Assuming you don't have any open sores in your mouth, of course.
Right, provided there are no open mouth sores or deep cuts in the throat, which could still lead to rapid viral transmission through the bloodstream. It's a strange biological anomaly, almost a self-defense mechanism that prevents the corpse from being consumed by non-infected organisms.
Given this rapid fatality and progression, are there any known treatments? Any way to halt the viral cycle when symptoms begin?
Sadly, no. Solanum is a virus, which renders antibiotics completely useless. Furthermore, immunization is impossible. Laboratory attempts to introduce even a minute, highly diluted dosage for vaccine purposes have resulted directly in full-blown lethal infection in every single test subject.
And any kind of genetic research?
Theoretically years away from offering a functional countervirus or therapy.
So what about the ultimate desperate measure we see in stories? The immediate severance of a bitten limb.
The field data is brutal on this. Immediate surgical severing of the infected limb shows a less than 10% success rate.
That low? Why?
The speed with which Solanum travels through the system is astronomical. By the time the pain receptors register the bite and the person begins to react, the virus is likely already too far along in the central nervous system to be stopped by simple amputation.
So for an infected individual, the only true choice left is ensuring they don't contribute to the very horde that killed them.
Exactly. And this leads to a critical disposal note for anyone contemplating self-euthanasia. If an infected individual chooses suicide, they must destroy the brain first.
Why is that so important?
We have chilling historical cases of subjects who expired after the 5th hour of infection via other means, say a non-fatal bullet wound or a drug overdose, who still reanimated at the 23-hour mark because the viral cycle was just too far advanced.
Every casualty in an outbreak must be treated as a potential imminent threat.
Every single one.
That brings us perfectly to our next section. We know how they are created. Now let's understand what they actually are in a physical sense. Section 2. Zombie physiology. Their strengths, their weaknesses, and their physical limits.
And we have to debunk the persistent superhuman myths immediately. The undead are not imbued with magic. They cannot fly, they can't teleport, they don't project force fields.
They only possess the functional toolkit of the human body they inhabit.
That's it. Their lethality lies purely in how the reanimated primitive brain utilizes those tools, specifically their complete and total lack of self-preservation.
Okay, so let's start with how they find us. What is their sensory input profile?
It's a complex, multimodal system. Their sight is comparable to a living human's eyes, though the reanimated brain interprets that visual data very primitively.
So they're not seeing us like we see each other.
No. They seem to distinguish humans from other undead, primarily by noticing our quicker, smoother, and more varied movements, which is why attempts by humans to mimic their shambling have failed universally.
So don't try the zombie walk. You're only making yourself a target in bad makeup.
Precisely. Also, the theory that they possess specialized night vision has been debunked. However, all documented ghouls, even those with eyes severely damaged or missing, are expert night feeders.
Which suggests they're relying on something else.
It suggests their primary hunting advantage lies in their other, often superior, senses.
Which brings us to sound.
Their hearing is phenomenal. They can detect subtle sounds and accurately determine the direction of the source. Critically, they are attracted to any sounds, not just those made by living creatures.
That's a mistake survivors often make.
It is. We, as humans, are sight-oriented, but the dead brain utilizes all remaining senses equally. Sound becomes a massive factor in tracking prey, allowing them to hunt and fight effectively in total darkness or dense fog.
That means every creaking floorboard, every dropped piece of gear, every whisper, even a running water tap.
It's functionally a dinner bell to them.
How about smell?
Their sense of smell is highly acute and relied upon heavily. They can distinguish living prey, potentially tracking a fresh human scent up to a mile away under ideal wind conditions.
Though you can't mask it.
Field tests attempting to mask human scent with strong chemicals, heavy perfumes, or deodorants have consistently failed. They home in on something specific, be it our sweat, pheromones, or maybe the unique chemical signature of life itself that we have not yet successfully masked or synthesized.
And their horrifying dining habits, what drives their feeding instinct.
They exhibit a marked, consistent preference for human flesh over animal flesh.
Right.
And they consistently reject carrion meat that has been dead longer than, say, 12 to 18 hours, or bodies that have been embalmed or preserved chemically.
But we don't know why.
The specific reason for this overwhelming non-nutritional preference for human flesh remains one of the great confounding unknowns.
Now let's discuss the single greatest advantage they possess in combat.
It is brutally simple. They feel no pain, no physical sensation whatsoever.
All nerve receptors are dead.
All of them. A wound, a broken limb, even the loss of a significant portion of their torso will not be noticed and will never, ever deter an attack. While we, the living, recoil from damage, it's a survival instinct, they simply push forward, continuing the attack until their mechanical motor functions cease.
So, if they are fearless, tireless killing machines, what are their biological limitations? Where are the weaknesses?
First, they lack the power of regeneration. Damaged cells stay damaged. There is no healing process. Where we tear muscles during exertion and rebuild them stronger, a ghoul's muscle mass simply tears and weakens with use, never rebuilding or recovering.
So they literally wear out over time, becoming weaker and slower.
Precisely. This is a severe, debilitating disadvantage over long-term exertion. However, that wearing out process is slow. The average functional lifespan of a ghoul before it completely rots away is estimated at 3 to 5 years.
Which sounds counterintuitive. Why don't they just decompose like a normal corpse?
Because normal decomposition microbes overwhelmingly reject Solanum-infected flesh. The virus chemically alters the tissue, essentially embalming the zombie from the inside out.
So they are biologically preserved until they finally disintegrate.
Yes. And environmental factors are key here. A zombie in the Louisiana bayous decays faster than one in a cold, dry desert. And critically, extreme conditions like deep freezing or full immersion in preservative fluids can allow specimens to exist indefinitely.
Potentially for decades or centuries.
Exactly. Any long-term survival plan has to account for this preservation factor.
Let's discuss their food source, or lack of one. If they aren't eating for nutrition, what happens to the flesh they devour?
The digestive tract is completely dormant. Flesh is not fuel, it is just accumulation. Food piles up in its original undigested state until it is either forced through the anus or, in extreme cases, the stomach and intestinal lining literally bursts due to pressure.
That detail is often glossed over, but it has severe tactical implications, right?
Absolutely. When you're talking about high-impact destruction, using a vehicle or explosives, that undigested mass of flesh is suddenly atomized. The result is a dangerous, infectious mess of fluid and partially digested material splattering a wide area.
I read about one specimen.
The one that contained 211 pounds of completely undigested flesh.
Yes. And even after an internal rupture like that, field accounts confirm they continue to feed relentlessly.
Let's touch on their famous vocal ability. The signature deep-throated moan.
That's a function of their residual respiratory system. The lungs continue to draw air in and expel it, producing the moan, but they don't extract oxygen.
Because the brain is oxygen independent. Correct. This confirms their ability to survive underwater or in any environment lethal to humans, like high altitude or a room filled with toxic gas, as respiration is merely an obsolete motor function.
We established that the circulatory system is offline. What does that mean for close quarters combat?
The circulatory system is functionally useless, filled with congealed blood or a thick necrotic fluid. This lack of fluid mass is a huge biological godsend for us, as it prevents easy, casual viral transmission during accidental hand-to-hand combat.
So it limits the spread primarily to direct bites or those splatter events we mentioned.
Exactly. We can also definitively confirm that zombies are sterile. Their sexual organs are necrotic and impotent. The fear of the dead reproducing the dead is a biological impossibility.
Well, that's one existential dread we can check off the list.
Yeah.
Now, their mobility profile. Let's categorize their strength, speed, and agility.
Strength. They possess the same raw brute force as the living. However, critically, lacking functioning adrenal glands, they can't achieve that temporary burst of power that humans get from adrenaline.
No flight or fight response.
None. Their true advantage is amazing stamina. They will continue exerting force until the muscles literally disintegrate from overuse, making them tireless battering rams against barricades and doors.
We need to counter the running zombie myth that permeates fiction.
We do. They are biologically incapable of running. They move at a slouch or a limp, and their speed is determined mostly by leg length and the degree of muscular decay. The fastest observed speed is barely one step every 1.5 seconds.
They are the slow, relentless tide.
They are. A human's ability to sprint, even for a short distance, remains a decisive advantage.
And in terms of fine motor skills or complex maneuvers?
Their dexterity is estimated to be 90% less than living humans. This is due to the stiffness of necrotic tissue and the extremely primitive nature of the reanimated brain. Jumping, balancing on narrow surfaces.
Swimming.
Or swimming, yes. It's all absolutely beyond their skill set. Their dense, waterlogged tissues often cause them to sink or float partially submerged, relying on buoyancy and current, but they cannot perform the coordinated effort required to swim towards a target.
No coordinated, synchronized zombie swimming team, then.
Fortunately not.
This inherent lack of physical coordination leads us directly to the mental aspects of the fight, which is where humanity holds its ultimate edge. Let's move to Section 3, the zombie mind and behavior.
Our ability to think, to plan, and to execute multi-step strategies is the greatest single advantage we possess. And when you examine the ghoul's brain function, the findings are quite stark.
How intelligent are they, truly?
Their mental capacity ranks conservatively below that of an insect. They show absolutely no ability to reason, to employ basic logic, or to use trial and error to solve problems.
You see this in the field reports all the time.
All the time. The case of the collapsed pedestrian bridge is a classic example. Dozens of zombies tumbled over the edge one after another trying to reach a human on the other side, never once recognizing or adapting to the obstacle.
That unitask computer analogy is perfect here. They have one function and zero ability to deviate.
Exactly. They are an instinct-driven unitask machine programmed solely for feeding. This program cannot be paused, modified, or erased, and it operates until the body collapses entirely.
And this lack of cognitive flexibility is a massive weakness.
A huge one. They have never been observed using tools of any kind, not even picking up a rock to use as a simple weapon or a chair to climb a barrier, because that requires a basic level of abstract thought they just don't possess.
What about emotions or memories? Do they recognize people? Do they feel anything at all?
None whatsoever. They possess no emotions, no joy, fear, hate, pity, or recognition. Psychological warfare is therefore impossible.
And memory.
Impossible. The complex structures supporting the conscious and subconscious mind are utterly destroyed by Solanum. Stories of ghouls returning to former homes or showing mercy to loved ones are invariably false. They're rooted in the desperate wishful thinking of human survivors.
They're pure autonauts.
Skew automatons.
So without memory or logic, how do they hunt? Do they claim territory?
They are migratory organisms with zero regard for territory or any concept of home. Their hunting pattern is fundamentally random. They stumble aimlessly until prey is detected, with no prioritization of specific zones or structures.
But once they detect prey, the transformation is immediate and total.
Here is where the guided missile analogy comes in. The previously silent, oblivious automaton transforms instantly. It is now homing in on the detected victim.
And you can't distract it.
Once contact is made or the line of sight is clear, they become completely impossible to distract by any means. They will continue pursuit until the target is killed, contact is completely lost, or they themselves are destroyed.
And finally, their communication and social dynamics. Is a horde a military unit?
Absolutely not. There is no social structure, no hierarchy, and no collective drive. A horde is simply a mass of individuals drawn together by their own individual, identical, instinctual programming.
So they're not even aware of each other.
They appear unaware of one another, avoiding collision only as one inanimate object might avoid another. They will literally tug repeatedly on the same piece of flesh without ever trying to push a competitor aside.
The only collective action is that universally terrifying sound.
The moan. It is their only vocal ability, a deep-throated, eerie sound released upon identifying prey. It is an instinctive reaction to detection, not a deliberate cognitive alert.
But it functions as one.
It functions perfectly as a rally cry, drawing every other nearby ghoul to the source. Historically, that sound is noted as a potent psychological weapon against humans, often initiating panic and self-defeating actions.
Understanding that dynamic, the non-thinking, tireless hunter, is the only way to plan for the next stages of conflict. In Section 4, we transition to the reality of the threat assessment and outbreak classes.
And the core finding of all the research is that attacks are increasing globally. It's a trend that mirrors global population growth, urbanization, and rapid global transport links.
The future, as laid out by geopolitical analysis, presents two stark possibilities.
Either governmental acknowledgement and managed marginalization, or the far more dangerous possibility of an all-out global war. We have to be prepared for the latter.
To prepare effectively, we need to be able to immediately assess the scale of the crisis unfolding around us. The sources identify 4 distinct classes of outbreak intensity.
Starting small. Class 1, low level. This typically involves 1 to 20 zombies, resulting in 1 to 50 human casualties, usually confined to third world or sparsely populated rural areas.
And it doesn't last long.
No, 24 hours to 14 days. The response is primarily civilian or local law enforcement, and critically, the media generally reports these incidents as bizarre homicides, isolated accidents, or unexplained violence.
Making them the easiest to go completely unnoticed by the wider world.
Exactly.
Then the scale rapidly ratchets up, hitting population centers.
Class 2, urban densely populated. Here we see 20 to 100 zombies, resulting in hundreds of casualties across a significant urban area. Suppression is organized, involving local, state, and maybe federal law enforcement.
And you might get low-level military response for logistical support.
Right. For transport, containment barriers, media is almost always present, but the reports are consistently inaccurate. They'll cite cover stories like West Nile virus, a new strain of rabies, or even mad cow disease in a desperate attempt to maintain social calm.
This is where martial law rumors start to fly.
This is where they start.
And Class 3 is the world-changing event.
Class 3, true crisis. This is a full-blown battle involving thousands of zombies, encompassing hundreds of miles, lasting up to several months. There is no chance for a press blackout.
The sheer magnitude of the violence is too great to hide.
Far too great. This signals the full-scale deployment of regular military forces, the implementation of martial law, severe rationing, restricted travel, and widespread panic. The initial phase is just absolute chaos.
And Class 4, of course, is a world overrun by the dead. But before we get there, let's focus on early detection. How does the untrained mind miss these warning signs?
The signs are subtle but distinct, often dismissed by authorities as unrelated incidents. You need to look for patterns of specific violence. First, look for reports of bizarre homicides or decapitations, specifically by headshot.
Because that's not a normal murder.
No. It strongly suggests that civilians have recognized the threat and are correctly applying the only effective means of elimination, only to be subsequently labeled as paranoid murderers by authorities who don't understand the protocol.
And what about missing persons?
Yes, missing persons reports, especially those detailing search members going missing themselves. If the initial search parties start deploying with armament beyond standard hunting rifles, say military-grade semi-automatics, that is a massive red flag.
The mission has devolved from a simple search to a low-intensity conflict.
Exactly. Another key indicator is the medical mislabeling of early infection cases.
The violent insanity reports.
Reports of cases of violent insanity, where the attacker uses no weapons but bites or tries to bite victims, who then mysteriously die and may reanimate. This is a classic indicator of the infection spreading before authorities can connect the dots.
And widespread civil unrest without a logical cause is a massive sign of underlying panic.
Right. Riots or civil disturbances without a logical cause. Mass violence is usually rooted in known factors like politics or economics. If you can't find one, the answer may be the living dead triggering mass localized panic.
And finally, the medical and press indicators.
Look for disease-based deaths with undetermined or highly suspect causes, often with rushed explanations. And perhaps the biggest red flag of all, a total press blackout concerning any of the above.
A government suppressing information is never a good sign.
Never.
Before we move into defensive strategies, we have to clarify one element that has confused survivors for centuries, particularly in regions like Haiti, the voodoo zombie.
Ah, the counterfeit threat.
If Solanum is the truth, what is the science behind this?
The voodoo zombie is a fascinating case of toxicology and human tragedy, rooted entirely in science, not magic. It's created via a neurotoxin found in ingredients used in zombie powder.
And this toxin puts them into a kind of hibernation.
Extreme physical hibernation, yes. It slows the heart and lungs to minimal levels, a state easily mistaken for death, which often leads to accidental burial.
And the brain damage is a consequence of the burial itself.
Exactly. The victim suffers severe brain damage from lack of oxygen in the coffin before they are recovered. The key for survivors is knowing how to distinguish them from the true Solanum threat.
Okay, so let's dedicate some time to the telltale differences we need to look for.
The differences are stark. A voodoo zombie shows emotion. They can smile, cry, or exhibit clear anger. A Solanum ghoul is incapable of that. They exhibit thought. They will take a moment to analyze prey or survey a barrier.
Unlike a true ghoul's immediate guided missile attack.
Right. They feel pain. They will nurse a bruise or recoil from a hit. They recognize fire and will recoil from it because it hurts them.
And they can be influenced.
Yes. They are still site-dependent and can often communicate in simple sentences. This means they are susceptible to suggestion. You might be able to simply shout at a voodoo zombie to stop.
And this is where the confusion becomes lethal when facing the real threat.
Precisely. If a survivor encounters a genuine Solanum ghoul and tries to apply the voodoo rules, shouting a command, using fire as a deterrent, they will instantly realize, too late, what they are truly dealing with.
That brings us to Section 5, Defensive Strategy and Fortification. This is where we apply all this biological and behavioral knowledge, and rule number 1, which is counterintuitive during mass panic, is stay put.
In the first crucial hours of an attack, fleeing is highly discouraged. The roads instantly become clogged with stationary vehicles and panicked people. It's just a bottleneck ripe for infection.
It's better to prepare for an immediate fight right where you are. So assuming you're home, let's run through immediate residential fortification.
If you are in a 2-story home, this offers the best immediate defense. Lock doors and windows. The sound of shattering glass is your warning system. Your primary goal is to gain elevation. Run upstairs.
And the first thing you do upstairs?
Immediately turn on the bathtub and sink. Fill any available containers. Securing a clean water supply is critical, as municipal services may fail quickly.
And then concealment.
Stay out of sight, keep quiet, and turn off all lights. Make the house seem abandoned. You want them to stumble past. And always plan an alternate escape route, like a rope ladder.
What if you're in a single-story home?
The attic is your secure substitute. You can secure it simply by raising the retractable staircase or removing the ladder completely. Since zombies can't build a replacement, it becomes a temporarily isolated fortress.
Then we have to debunk that horror movie fallacy.
Never use a basement, ever. Basements are death traps. They're impossible to escape in a fire. They can become suffocation chambers, and they offer zero long-term resource security.
No attic, no second floor.
Climb onto the roof, kick away the ladder, and wait for the zombies to lose interest and wander off.
If the siege is extended, a Class 3 situation, you need to transition to a structure built for longevity. What offers the best inherent defense?
Stilted homes, found along beaches or rivers, are excellent. Destroying the outside staircase creates an instant, secure, raised platform. Apartments above the ground floor are also safer than houses. Destroying the first-floor staircase isolates the rest of the building.
Are large municipal buildings good options?
Office buildings and schools can be secured like large apartments. Inner-city schools in particular are often built like fortresses and frequently contain food and medical supplies. They are excellent secondary fortresses.
And what structure should survivors absolutely under no circumstances enter?
Hospitals. Avoid them at all costs. This cannot be stressed enough. Solanum is often misdiagnosed in the early hours, and hospitals are where the infected are first brought. Outbreaks literally radiate outwards from these buildings.
They are always ground zero.
Oh.
For ultimate long-term security, isolation is paramount. What's the best fortress solution?
Piers and docks are highly defensible. Destroy the land access point, and you're on an artificial island. But the absolute top-tier fortress, the pinnacle of isolation and security, is the offshore oil rig.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Why is the oil rig considered the ultimate safe haven?
They are completely isolated artificial islands miles from shore. It is functionally impossible for zombies to climb aboard. Plus, they excel at self-containment. Rigs are often stocked with supplies, water distillers, and vast amounts of fuel for unlimited power for up to 6 months or more.
What are the necessary precautions and drawbacks?
You must immediately shut down the drill to reduce the risk of an explosion. And corrosion from salt air is your #1 continuous enemy. All sensitive electronics will eventually fail. You have to be prepared to maintain crude mechanical systems.
That brings us to Section 6. Weapons and anti-undead combat techniques. We've established the enemy's weaknesses. Now let's talk application. What is the single unbendable rule for killing a zombie?
The brain must be obliterated by any means possible. Repeat that until it becomes instinct. Destruction of the circulatory, digestive, or respiratory systems is completely useless.
You must target the skull, the power source, and penetrate the cranial cavity.
Every time.
Before we discuss tools, let's talk about the first and most immediate weapon, your body.
Personal physical fitness is paramount. Your focus needs to be on cardiovascular fitness endurance, not necessarily brute strength. You need to be able to run and keep running.
And any martial arts training.
Learn one that emphasizes escaping holds over delivering blows. A zombie's grip is tireless. Slipping from a ghoul's clutches is the most important physical skill in close combat.
Now for hand weapons, let's start with bludgeons.
The goal with bludgeons is to crush the skull, which requires extreme focused force. You must avoid overly heavy weapons like sledgehammers for prolonged use. They cause rapid fatigue.
And the undisputed champion in this category?
The steel crowbar. It's the ideal balance. Lightweight, durable, and multifunctional. The back end can crush the skull, and its curved edge allows for a stabbing motion through the eye socket directly into the brain case.
Plus, it's a tool.
It's a tool. You can pry open doors, secure windows. Invaluable.
How about edged weapons?
Edged weapons prioritize decapitation. A civilian axe is effective, but difficult to aim against a moving target. A miss can compromise your balance, leaving you dangerously vulnerable. For a compact melee choice, nothing beats the trench spike.
The trench spike is a very specialized choice.
It is, without a doubt, the best compact anti-zombie weapon on Earth. It's a 7-inch steel spike combined with brass knuckles. You can easily stab through a ghoul's skull, withdraw cleanly, and use the knuckles to deliver a stunning punch to another ghoul to buy yourself seconds of escape time.
In the power tool, often romanticized in fiction, the chainsaw.
Chainsaws rank extremely low for actual combat. They have finite fuel, they're heavy, a safety risk, and most critically, the massive noise will instantly broadcast dinner is served to every zombie within a mile radius.
They're better suited for clearing barricades than for combat.
Far better.
Let's talk firearm strategy. The ultimate rule here is accuracy over saturation.
Absolutely essential. The general rule is to avoid machine guns and submachine guns. Saturation fire is wasteful and feckless against the need for a precise headshot. You'll just expend vital ammo mopping up writhing body parts.
What are the best rifle strategies for conservation?
For discipline and conservation of resources, the bolt or lever-action rifle is highly effective. Its single-shot capability forces you to make each round count. They're also rugged and easy to clean.
But if you need to engage multiple targets quickly.
The semi-automatic rifle is a superior zombie killer, provided you maintain firing discipline. The 1947 Jarvie incident is a perfect example. A survivor dispatched 15 zombies in 12 seconds with an M1 carbine.
Old military surplus rifles are good choices then.
Older World War II models like the M1 Garand or M1 carbine are favored for their durability and the widespread availability of their ammunition.
What about shotguns?
Shotguns provide excellent stopping power at very close range. They can blow a head clean off, but they have limited effective range. Their primary utility is for knocking groups of zombies sprawling to gain crucial escape time.
And the handgun.
Handguns should be a backup only. A last resort. Studies show they have a high percentage of non-lethal ballistic wounds, 73%. They are only reliably useful in extreme close quarters, pressing the muzzle against the temple and pulling the trigger.
And that sneaky choice, the small caliber round.
The .22 caliber rimfire. It has 0 stopping power, but its small size allows you to triple your ammo load. And here's the critical detail. The small rounds often lack the force to punch cleanly through the back of the skull.
So they ricochet.
They ricochet violently inside the cranial cavity, maximizing internal damage. But this requires dangerously close range, escalating the risk significantly.
Moving beyond ballistics, let's assess explosives and fire.
Explosives are highly inefficient as killing weapons. Shrapnel rarely achieves the precise penetration needed. They are best used strategically, breaching doors, creating barricades, or scattering mobs to buy escape time.
They are tools of mobility, not elimination.
Exactly. And fire, the supposed great cleanser.
It's no deterrent to a zombie.
None. Blazing ghouls will not notice or react. They become shambling torches that spread destruction. Fire is best used as a disposal method. Cremation is the safest way, or as an attack weapon only when clearing a flammable resistant structure.
Let's quickly review the exotic options that sound great in theory, but fail in practice.
Acid.
Sulfuric acid is a post-encounter disposal tool, not a combat weapon. It's too slow and too dangerous to the user.
And poison or tranquilizers.
Useless. Their bodily systems are already offline. Those compounds have nothing to act upon.
Biological and genetic warfare.
Viruses and bacteria attack living cells. They have no effect on the reanimated dead.
Yep.
Genetic therapy is purely theoretical.
And the final great movie, Villain. Radiation. Zombies are completely unaffected by gamma radiation. The Khotan incident in 1987 proved that. Worse, radioactive zombies pose a dual threat by spreading both solanum and contamination.
This knowledge leads us directly to the long-term reality of survival. Section 7. On the run, mobility, and long-term strategy.
If your fixed fortress fails, or if the outbreak escalates beyond a Class 3, mobility becomes paramount.
What is the ideal composition for a moving survival team?
The ideal team size is 3 members. This allows for mutual protection, guard duty rotation, and the ability of 2 members to carry an injured third. Anything over 10 is asking for trouble.
And the philosophy of movement must center on invisibility, not strength.
Mobility is your best defense. You have to remain invisible. Travel light, use silent weapons, secure all your gear to prevent clanking, avoid talking, and most importantly, avoid fires or lights at night. A single cigarette ember can be spotted from half a mile away.
And combat discipline while moving must be absolute.
Fight only when it is absolutely inevitable. Firing a gun is like sending up a flare. Use silent hand weapons unless you have a silenced firearm or a guaranteed escape plan.
Let's analyze terrain. Where should survivors seek refuge?
Forests offer excellent concealment. Soft earth muffles footsteps. High trees offer safe sleeping positions. Plains, on the other hand, should be avoided completely. Wide open spaces allow zombies to spot you from great distances.
And the urban landscape.
Avoid urban areas at all costs. Highest concentration of the dead, countless ambush points, decreased visibility, loud surfaces, not to mention the secondary threats. Friendly fire, bandits, industrial accidents, and disease from unattended corpses.
What about vehicles?
Vehicles are often a major liability. They're loud, they rely on finite fuel, and they get stuck. Motorbikes can skirt blocked roads, but their noise cancels the advantage. Trucks and buses are just canned food when they get bogged down.
When facing a true Class 3 or Class 4 scenario, private homes fail. We need the long-term, self-sustaining fortress.
Your top priority has to be military complexes. They're usually in sparsely populated areas, have elaborate security, fallout shelters, and were staffed by trained personnel who left behind supplies.
The historical precedent being Fort Louis-Philippe,
where French foreign legionnaires survived a siege for 3 years against overwhelming numbers. It proves the value of disciplined defense and logistical preparation.
But what if you're forced to flee civilization entirely? The Class 4 world.
Staying in an urban fortress becomes marginal. The risk of being overrun by millions of ghouls or subjected to military saturation bombing is too high. Your ultimate destination must be far away from all civilization.
The survival slogan is, harsher is safer.
Exactly.
Which extreme locations fulfill this harsher is safer philosophy?
Mountains are excellent. Steep slopes naturally deter both zombies and bandits. The challenge is resource acquisition. You must choose a mountain region with sustainable food and water.
What about jungles?
Jungle and tropical rainforests offer excellent camouflage, and the foliage muffles sound. Plus, they have a unique advantage.
The decomposition rate.
The high moisture accelerates undead decomposition, a 10 to 25% higher decay rate. The drawbacks, however, are substantial. Tropical diseases, rust, rapid food decay, and insects.
And the preferred choice if you can secure passage.
Islands. Geographical isolation is key. Zombies can't swim. But you have to ensure the island is accessible only by sturdy craft to deter desperate refugees. And you must constantly watch for waterlogged ghouls washing ashore or arriving on derelict ships.
So how long must we endure this primitive existence until the threat naturally dissipates?
Based on the decomposition rates, the first generation of ghouls will be gone after 5 years, provided they aren't preserved. If the dead win, which might happen between year 5 and 10 of a global crisis, it will take an additional 5 years for the majority of the horde to rot away,
So a 10 to 15-year mental commitment to isolation.
at minimum. And you must remain vigilant against preserved or frozen zombies for decades afterward.
We conclude our deep dive with Section 8. Historical records and conclusion, showing that this knowledge is rooted in millennia of human conflict against Solanum.
This is where we validate everything, that the zombie threat is not new but ancient, and its behavior is terrifyingly predictable.
What are the key historical precedents?
We can start in 3000 BC, Hierakonpolis, Egypt. Archaeologists discovered a partially decomposed body outside a tomb with clear bite marks and, critically, solanum traces in the brain.
Which suggests a link to the Egyptian practice of removing brains during mummification.
The strong implication is that this early outbreak prompted that practice as a form of ancient anti-zombie disposal, a practical 5,000-year-old solution.
Incredible.
Then we have 121 AD, Phantom City, Caledonia, a textbook Class 3 outbreak that prompted the Roman military to issue the famous Army Order XXD7. It explicitly detailed zombie behavior and mandated efficient disposal via decapitation.
And this threat arguably led directly to the building of Hadrian's Wall.
To isolate the entire infected area from the empire, it demonstrates that organized, disciplined military response can contain and manage an outbreak.
Fast forwarding to North America, we find the first documented professional zombie hunter.
1888 AD, Hayward, Washington. The story of Elijah Black, who, after witnessing a massacre, devoted his life to studying and hunting the undead. He used his knowledge, a saber, and a Winchester repeater to bait 59 ghouls to a water tower and dispatch them with precise headshots over 6 hours.
Illustrating the critical importance of discipline and targeting over sheer firepower.
Precisely. And finally, the history of weaponizing the undead, which always ends in failure.
Cherry Blossom Project.
1942 AD, Central Pacific, Atuk Island. Imperial Japanese Marines survived a siege, discovered the headshot was key, and this led to the catastrophically failed Cherry Blossom Project. They attempted to train zombie armies using dissidents.
But it failed because the ghouls were incapable of recognizing allies, only prey.
Exactly. Records of this were suppressed by the U.S. government after the war due to their highly sensitive and chilling nature.
With the fight done, what is the final word on post-combat care and disposal?
Solanum can inhabit a terminated body for up to 48 hours. The head is the most serious hazard. You must always use protective clothing and adhere to strict sanitation protocols.
And cremation is the safest method.
Cremation is the safest, most effective way to destroy the body and all traces of solanum. A virus cannot survive intense, sustained heat.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? We have laid out the Solanum mechanism, confirmed the zombie's invulnerability to pain and non-headshots, and stressed the absolute need for personal fitness, discipline, and long-term isolation planning.
The data points gathered across millennia are clear. Planning, training, and disciplined execution trump overwhelming firepower every single time. By internalizing this deep dive, by moving from panic to analysis, you have shifted from a potential victim to an informed, prepared survivor.
The knowledge is now irrevocably yours. We've seen that attacks are increasing in frequency, human populations are constantly growing, and global transportation links the planet faster than ever before.
It creates the perfect environment for a rapid, unstoppable Class 4 contagion.
The historical analysis notes two likely futures. One, where governments acknowledge the threat and manage to marginalize it.
Perhaps developing a containment system or even a vaccine.
And one where they fail, resulting in an all-out global Class 4 war, where humanity must return to primitive survival.
And if the governments fail, the choice is yours alone to make.
Given the constantly escalating frequency of outbreaks, the speed of global transport, and the tendency of officials to label zombie attacks as violent insanity or mysterious disease accompanied by immediate press blackouts, how close are we truly to that inflection point?
That moment where the fight shifts from containing a small Class 2 outbreak to surviving a global, desperate Class 4 war. What are the current real-world signs, the unexplained violence, the mass disturbances, the censored medical reports that you might be overlooking right now? Survival depends on recognizing the truth before the rest of the world catches up.